We're covering all things theater, all things performing arts. We want to uplift our culture. We want to uplift entertainment so that you'll know what's going on here in the city of Detroit and around the country and around the world because this show is international. And today we are so blessed to have a true entertainer with us. Hey, Diane. Diane's with us again as our co-host. And we're blessed today. And thank you, Diane, for arranging us to have this wonderful guest today. Our guest today is an entertainer, a performer, Miss Cynthia Scott. Welcome, Cynthia.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
So glad to have you here. Now, again, I said this show is all about theater, and we know you have done some playwriting and some acting, but your life is much bigger.
You think so?
Yeah, and we're going to try to explore as much of that as possible. We're not going to just limit this discussion to theater. We're going to talk about a little bit of everything, even if we had to go all the way back to El Dorado, Arkansas, and what was happening in El Dorado, places I've been once in my life. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Most people will know you as a singer and a member of the Raylettes. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so let's just start with that. Your life as an entertainer. When did you get the bug? That's always my first question. When did you get the bug? When did you know that your life was going to be in entertainment? That you were going to be a performer? That was the direction your life would take?
Because I saw it in my family. My father was a bishop, and my 6 brothers, 4 of my brothers were ministers. I had 2 uncles. They were ministers. And ministry is very theatrical. Okay, so you're seeing the delivery of ministry. And my mother was a powerful minister, even though they didn't let them in the pulpit. My mother could preach. My mother could teach. My mother could speak. My mother was a writer. So I was an observer, you know. I just watched because I wasn't really the singer in the family. It was my brothers and my sisters. They played. My brother played for the 5 Blind Boys, you know, when they, as I mentioned, 5 Blind Boys stole him when he was 14 years old. And so he was their chauffeur and their guitarist and their singer and everything. They taught him a lot of bad habits.
Not from the blind boys.
Oh,
singing
boy.
Gospel all over the
They said
South.
the blind ones are the worst.
Oh my.
Well, okay, that opens up a thing. Your brother played for the 5 Blind Boys.
Yes.
And you sang for probably the most famous blind singer.
Yes.
Other than Stevie.
Yeah.
And so
Ray Charles. I sang for Ray Charles. So.
Yeah. So the most famous, other than Stevie, the 2 most famous blind singers we know.
That's right.
Well, all 3 really: Stevie, Ray, and the 5 Blind Boys.
That's it.
Clarence Carter was blind too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, Clarence Carter. I forget about him.
And blind men, they're not really handicapped.
I know.
Okay, they don't have sight, but they have something else. They have instinct. They have hearing. And they have a concentration that we don't even pay attention to because Ray sit there, but Ray could tell when I was sitting on the floor. Tex, why are you sitting on the floor? Like, how do you know I'm sitting on the floor? And he'd get insulted that I would say, what do you mean, why do I know you're sitting on the floor?
Yeah.
How do you know? You're blind.
That sense that I've always heard that for when you're lacking one sense, the others are much more in tuned or operating on a higher level, a higher frequency, so to speak. So what we know about Ray Charles, and this is not going to be a show about Ray Charles, but it's going to be about you, but that's a significant part of your experience, so we want to explore that. And what we know mostly from Ray is from the movie.
Really?
Yeah, and there's always things that you see in movies that you wonder, is that really true? Did that really happen? Those kind of things. And for the audience, if you're watching today, and if you want to call in You can reach us at Wjzz Cool TV by calling in at 313-427-2032. That's 313-427-2032. So feel free to call in and ask questions, and we'll be happy to hear from you. So how did you become a Raylette first?
Okay. My father was a minister and a bishop, and he had 3 states. He had Arkansas, Alabama, and Tennessee.
A man just asked what religion?
Sanctified. Sanctified.
Okay.
Triumph Church, like I said, it was a branch. There was Sanctified Folks, Triumph Church, and then there was Church of God in Christ, and blah, blah, blah. And I remember the night that they had a meeting and the Church of God in Christ branched off from the Triumph Church.
Okay.
I remember that meeting. It was late at night, and they were going in a different direction from our church. And it was kind of shocking because over half of the church, and they split off. So that's how I started, just watching. And there was always singing in my family. My sister Mabel played for Claire Ward, the Claire Ward Singers.
Okay.
She was on the road with them. My sister Jean played for her church up until she got ill. We buried her like 3 years ago. And my older sister, Louise, who hosted the family reunion, which is why I am here in Michigan today.
Okay.
She's a Levert. She's from the Levert family.
Okay.
And so her children are Leverts. And I remember having the conversation with her. I was on the treadmill when she and I was talking, and she said, I got to hang up. The kid's cousin has just died. And I was like that. And that was Eddie's son.
Gerald.
Gerald said Gerald just died, and I was like, I was talking with her on the phone when they got the word that he had passed away. So that's a part of our family.
Okay.
And they hosted our family reunion. So, and I have a video. I took a little clip. They sang at the service. Her daughters and her daughter's children. It's 3 girls and 1 boy, and they sang, and she played piano, and they got that harmony, baby. They got it.
See, they got it.
They got it.
So you're just from a musical family.
Yes.
That's 2-sided musical family, and connected to a lot of musical history from the middle of the 20th century. You mentioned the 5 Blind Boys, Claire Ward. I mean, that's history.
Shirley Caesar. My brother Jay played with Shirley Caesar. Matter of fact, she didn't pay him the last time he worked there.
We hear that just about every
At least that's what he said. He got in the car and said, she didn't pay me, And she put a phone number. I was going to call and ask her, do you remember John Scott? They called him John, John Scott. So I don't know. My brother was out there, so he'd lie to get some more money.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, how you became a Raylette?
Mabel John.
Mabel John is another one. Mabel John.
Yeah. Well, Mabel John and her family belonged to my dad's church in Camden, Arkansas. They're from Arkansas.
Okay.
They moved to Detroit.
Okay.
But they belonged to our church. And during the summer, sometimes Dad would put us in the car and take us somewhere and to be a run of revival. And we went to Detroit this time. And we was invited to dinner at the family house. I didn't know of her brother. I never met Little Willie John. And I think he
Little Willie John.
Yeah.
Just keep calling out the stars, and we'll just let the audience know this woman's getting connected to a whole bunch of different people.
Yeah.
Little Willie John.
Yeah.
Who was dated with Litha Fame.
Yes.
Who?
Litha Fame. Litha Fame Prejean. I did a play called The Life of Sam about Sam Cooke.
Oh yeah.
And Litha Fame was prominent in Sam Cooke's life and Little Willie John's life and James Brown and Jimi Hendrix. So I guess that's time for me to write a show about Litha Fame. Okay. Again, how did you become?
Well, I went to Detroit. We went to Detroit. We had dinner with them, and Mabel went on the road. She became a Raylette with Raylette.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, she became like the den mother, for old Raylette. And they came to Dallas, and they were working there. And I went to see them, went to hear them. And I had a lot of the Dallas musicians. Ray loved the Texas tenors. He loved James Clay, David Fathead Newman, Leroy Cooper, they were more, I think, Georgia, Florida, but he loved the tenor sound. And then Ray was from Dallas, wasn't he? Yeah, certain areas of there. So I just, you know, it's a long history with Ray. You know, it was a long history. But the shock was when he called me to take the job, and I did tell that on the other interview. Do you want me to say it again?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay.
This is a different audience.
This is a different audience. Oh,
Yes,
okay.
This is a
okay.
theater audience.
Okay. All right. Okay. They came to Dallas, and Mabel John stayed with me, and I was singing with this white girl who was kind of like a white Tina Turner. Her name is Vicki Britton. She was good. And it was two other sisters that I found and hired, and we were like her background singers, three girls. And I think that I had a little bit more showmanship than she wanted, because when the lights went on, I just
You've got to be
and the other, you know, and then I had a little pizzazz and some so and I think that kind of that singers don't want anybody up there that gets too much attention, so you have to learn how to tone yourself down. I don't even know if I was even capable of that, because when I perform, I just feel like I go on automatic pilot. But anyway, she fired me, and I thought, okay. But just before she fired me, Ray had called me at 5 o'clock in the morning and asked me, he said, "Good morning." I said, "Who is this?" He said, "This is Brother Ray." I said, "Brother Ray who?" He said, "Brother Ray Charles, Now, I heard if I ever got myself stuck out here on the road and I needed a singer, you would help me out." And I was like, I didn't even believe it was him, And my dog was chewing on my panties in the bathroom, and I was screaming at him. And I pick up the phone, and I'm really pissed off. And he said, and I realized that it was Ray. And he said, I could really use some help. And do you know who he was on tour with? He was on tour with Count Basie Orchestra, with Joe Williams, Oscar Peterson and Joe Pass, and Ray Charles and the Raylette. I didn't know who any of these people were, but Ray.
I don't know what major names of the mid 20th century.
Yes. And believe me. I was, as a matter of fact, I met Norman Simmons through Joe Williams. Norman Simmons was his pianist. As a matter of fact, he helped me arrange that CD "Dream for One Bright World." I don't know if you have it, but I'll make sure you get it.
Okay.
But it was just, I think God just knew that I had to travel through circles to finally land somewhere, and I wasn't going to be comfortable, or I wasn't going to stay anywhere that I wasn't comfortable. It wasn't comfortable with Ray,
Okay.
even though he did fire me, he fired me because I guess Raylet didn't let Ray.
Raylet didn't let Ray.
Yeah, well, can we talk?
We can talk.
Ooh-wee.
Talk.
But he'll have to tell you.
He can't speak for himself.
Exactly. And he would call you back, play these little games. But like I said, having the reputation as a Raylette opened a lot of doors for me. So in Dallas, I was working. I was making money. I was working, And I like being a leader and making my own money as opposed to making that little money Ray was paying us. I do get Social Security because of that job.
Okay.
But I just, once I left him, when I'm done with you, I'm done.
Okay.
When I've seen what it is and who it is, I'm gone. And like I said, Dallas was open door. They had so much work. I was running away from work.
Okay.
So I loved it. And I'm still doing it. I go back to Dallas now. They just trap me into singing for a church at 9 o'clock in the freaking morning. Who sings at 9 o'clock in the morning? But I just did that, and it's on YouTube. I think I sang "Amazing Grace" and a little bit of "Precious Lord." And I brought my brother in because he plays piano from Port Arthur, and he played for me. And because I told him I wasn't going to do it unless I had a piano player that I could feel.
Right.
And they were trying to give me some choral piano player from church. I said, nope, she plays hymns. I don't sing hymns. So if you can't get me, and I said, maybe we need to do this another time. And they said, well, no, it's already in the program, which they lied. But anyway, my brother came, and he played for me, and we did fine, you know, because that's our roots. It's not. We don't
Mm-hmm.
even have to think about that. That's what we do, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm more jazz oriented. They don't consider me the gospel singer. I don't consider me the gospel singer.
Mm-hmm.
I like freedom in my music, you know.
Okay.
And
Yeah, you on the jazz, closer to the genre of jazz than R&B and gospel.
yeah, I've been
Mm-hmm.
gospel, but like I said, my singers and my sisters and brothers and my nieces and nephews, they got the voices for gospel. I
Mm-hmm.
never thought I had the voice for gospel.
Mm-hmm.
I had the voice for freedom, storytelling, and delivery.
Okay.
You know, with
Okay.
all of those little seeds planted.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to pull from all of them and land wherever it is I am. That's where I am.
Okay. You're watching Curtain Call on WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest TV station in the world. Streaming to you live on Facebook, not on Facebook, on YouTube. And we want you to give us a like, a comment, call in if you like. We've given you the number already. Just let us know what you think about Curtain Call, because we're bringing you theater and everything that we can that you need to know about theater. The people who tell the stories, that bring you the stories, we want to know what their stories are. So again, you're watching Curtain Call on WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest TV station in the world. Now you speak of your voice. You speak of your voice as not being gospel or not being R&B, but closer to jazz. Uh,
No, I just say it's closer to freedom.
Closer
I
to
don't know
freedom.
what's gonna come out.
Okay, so you don't know. Okay.
It's freedom. It when I open my mouth, I'm not trying to have a voice. I'm trying to tell a story.
Okay.
It's like,
Okay.
which is why theater became very, very important to me. But I studied with Uta Hagen. Did you know who Uta Hagen was?
I do not know who the
She was one of the greatest acting teachers in the world. She
Okay.
had HB Studios in Dallas in the village. I mean
Okay.
in New York in the village down
Okay.
there on Bank Street. And I was looking at a newspaper one day in Dallas. I was still in Dallas, and there was an ad that says Uta Hagen acting classes taught by Bob Kress. I didn't even know who Uta Hagen was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I decided to go to the class, and I think it was $10. I don't remember. It was at one of the Richland College, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And the teacher was Robert Kress.
Okay.
We called him Bob. And I walked in, and you know, class was full of. I think.
This in Dallas or New
this
York?
was in Dallas. This was
This was
before I
in-
went to New York. This was
Okay.
in the early '80s.
Okay.
Okay, this was in the early '80s because I went to New York in '86.
Okay.
So this had to be like 81, 80, 81.
Okay.
But I walked into the class, and I was kind of like a class clown. But I walked in, and he said, I really like your hair. I said, you do? He said, yeah. So I just took my hair wig and just threw it at him right there.
Oh wow.
And
No,
the
you
class, he fell out. You know, it
Oh,
was like
my
I was his girl from then on out because
Uh-huh.
if I would be that free to do that. So you like it, and I just took it and threw it at him. And he set up an audition for me to audition with Uta Hagen. You should check her out
I
in
am.
her book for Respect for Acting.
I am gonna check it out.
And he and another girl named Lorna was we both went up to audition, and we both did a scene with him.
Mm-hmm.
And my scene with him was from Franny and Zoe. It's a play called Franny and Zoe.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to do this scene in kind of a love scene, and we were fighting and battling, you know. And it was kind of difficult because Bob was gay, and for me to try to act like I'm having a relationship with a gay man was, you know, I'm a naturalist. So in other words, I have to try to get myself there. But it worked. It
Mhm.
worked, and I was selected to be in her class. Lorna didn't make it, and Lorna was a better actress than I was. But I asked her, we had dinner a couple of weeks ago when I was in Dallas. I said, you know why you didn't get in, don't you? And she said, yeah. I said, you were having an argument, and you ran out of the room, and you left your purse. I said, no woman in any argument, fight or whatever, she's going to go off and leave her purse. And she did not get in because if she was not in the moment. If she had been in the moment, she would have never have left her purse.
Mm-hmm.
That was a part of the scene.
Oh wow.
So, and she knows it, you know, she knows it. I said, because sometimes you can't get carried away into the performance or the acting or the doing. And Uta talks about the doing, and she talks about the fourth wall, where you place your people. Like if I want to talk to an audience, I would I would place my audience up on this wall, and I see them. I see them everywhere. I see all the faces right now, you know. And you're looking right at me, but I'm not looking at you. I'm seeing people, so I can have my conversation. And she talked about placing your people, you know, with pot. So I'm singing at a club in Dallas. I'm at that time near the breakup with a boyfriend, and a flower pot was sitting on the bar in the club, and I sang Guess Who I Saw Today. And when I sang it, I put that boyfriend in that flower pot, and I put my girlfriend who was sneaking around with my boyfriend in that flower pot. Look at that.
This is amazing to me. So I understand where you're coming from.
And
It's
I
awesome.
sang that song, and I went into a trance, and I went into that flower pot, and I didn't see a flower pot. I saw her, and I saw him. And when I finished singing it, I just remember the drummer, D.W. just turned to me and said, "That's heavy." You know, just like that. And I realized I had to like, it was like a kind of like a hypnosis type thing that you can do that. So I went back to Oda and I said, I can't use it. I can't control it. I can't control it. She said, you will learn to control it. You will learn, you know. And I have learned, you know. I've learned.
That focus that you got to have on the stage.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the focus in it, you can't get caught up with you looking at me and you know what you got on or whatever. It's like it's not there. You got to go there.
You got to go there.
You got to go there.
Become the character and raise that energy level up, so that you can work that character.
That's right.
Sounds like you said. Guess who I saw today? That's the Nancy Wilson
Yeah.
piece. That that's a beautiful
Yeah.
piece.
It is.
And a telling piece
Yes,
as well.
it is.
And I placed my people. You know, and I wasn't really even trying to do the exercise. I thought, I'll just, you know, I won't look at the audience. I'll just look at the flower pot. It was no longer a flower pot. It became the scene where I saw him and one of my best friends. You know, my friend said, "She ain't your best friend no more." No, she ain't. But we're cool now. You know, because I'm glad she did it because it just showed me more of who he was. And I'm glad that, you know.
Yeah, and I'm sure the audience, when they watch you perform that song, went there with you.
Absolutely.
I don't remember anything about that audience. All I know is it scared me when I came out of it. It really scared me. Because
But the audience is watching you, and you're that enthralled. They probably looked at that pot and saw the same thing.
They
or
weren't
saw
looking at
something.
that pot. They were looking at me.
Right, but they knew you were focused on.
No,
on
they
that.
didn't. They didn't know what I was focused on.
They didn't.
No, because it could have been on glass. It could have been anything.
But you were singing about. Guess who I saw today?
Yeah, but I didn't. I was looking at the pot. I chose it. Audience don't ever know where you're gonna place it.
Right. All right. Right. Well,
You know, it's not for the audience to know. It's for you to know. Because it has to transform for you. It's not about the audience, because the audience is looking at you. And another example that Uda gave us, she said, you can put a group of people on the stage, and they all just acting their behinds off. And you can put a cat on the stage with them, and just let that cat, and that cat ain't doing nothing but just watching everybody. And she said, the audience will look at that cat more than it will anybody up there. Because that cat is doing the least and has the most focus. He's paying attention to everybody. She said 80% of the audience will be looking at that cat. It will be hard for them not to. They may look at you, but they're gonna go back to that cat. Now, why was that cat so powerful? Why was what? Because that cat wasn't doing nothing. That cat was just.
Cat was still in the scene.
Cat was a scene stealer, and the cat was just watching what was going on. She said, so it's not about you over dramatizing, overacting, because that's what happened with Lorna. She went off and left her purse because she got too much into, and she forgot. You know, Lorna, if you're listening, I'm just using you an example. Don't be mad at me.
One of the things you talked about is actors who look like they're acting, and that just.
And that takes away from the sincerity of the scene.
You know, it's like get out of the way. It's the same thing with a song. When you're singing a song, get out of the way. You know, it's not about The scream, and it scream if the scream is brought from somewhere. But don't just scream to scream.
Right. Right.
Don't just holler to holler. It has to come from something if you really want to make a connection. Or you just want to be drama.
I'm going to have you write that name down for me after we've done today, so I can look her up and read about her.
Me too.
She was one of the first black women that did a love scene with a black man in the movies.
Oh, which movie?
The one about the boxer, the fighter.
Which one?
The first big famous black fighter we had. What was his name?
Jack Johnson.
Maybe. But I don't. All I said is she was the first one to do a love scene with a black man.
Okay, so the biggest, the first really
was
big.
Was it Jack Jones or something like that?
Jack
Johnson.
Jack
Johnson.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think James Earl Ray played that.
James Earl
James Earl Jones played
right.
that character in the movie. Jack Johnson, and they hated Jack Johnson because he didn't play by the rules. He was his own man.
But didn't he, not to change the subject, but didn't he have an affair with a white woman?
Yeah, that's why they hated him most.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's why they hated him most.
And Uda played that white woman in a movie, that had the affair with him.
Okay.
But when she married Herbert Burkhoff. He wasn't black. But she was very special. I loved her. And she loved me, but I went to her and I said, because like I said, when I checked out acting, I was like, I get up on the stage, y'all gonna give me some money when I get off. We ain't doing this, And I realized I went to her and I said, Uda, I'm gonna have to leave the class because I gotta go and make some. And she said, oh, well, you can always come back. I said, I know. But I never went back. She died, so.
Okay. And she has a book out there.
She's got 2 books out there.
Okay.
I'm gonna change your life.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a theater person. I'm always trying to learn what there is to learn about theater.
I'm gonna change your life.
Okay.
Because she's gonna make you take acting serious. It's not. It's an attention, just to get the attention. No. What are my 2 words? You have to go there.
You have to go there.
Yeah. Look at James Earl Jones. James Earl Jones. He goes there.
Every time.
Some of them go and can't get back.
Right. I've done shows where, and directed shows where the characters go there, and they stay there weeks after the show is over.
Yeah, and some of them might even, if they play, crazy enough. And then you got some of them. Who was that? What's his name? Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson. Yeah.
But if Jack Nicholson and quite a few of them, I've looked up and looked at who they studied under, and I think it was it Lee Strasberg?
Yeah, that's one of the most prominent names.
And that I don't know if it's correct, but it's a documentary on it. But that training, to me, some of that training was dangerous because you could go there and not figure out how to get out of it. So, if you look at some actors that are kind of going crazy, I can understand it. Because I went to one workshop, one class, and they had us to do all these movements and all this crazy stuff. And then all of a sudden, he told us to stand up and say the first thing that comes to your mind with this girl facing me. And she looked at me and she said, I feel like I could slap you. And I said, and acting class gonna be over.
What?
Yeah, that's the first thing that came to her mind.
Why?
I feel like I want to slap you. I said, and acting class gonna be over.
Wow, what would make her say that?
Because that was probably in the back of
her mind.
In her mind. Because some of those trainings will make you pull out stuff. Because they go, what is that Broadway show where this guy just demoralized? They went to audition. Was it that show on Broadway, and they had to audition for this guy, and he just made them just do all of this crazy stuff. And I thought, this is abuse. Some of it is abuse, which what some of I thought the directors were doing. I probably shouldn't say that, but all I'm saying is know who you are, know your grounding, and know that nobody can tilt you to make you lose your freaking mind.
Right.
You know.
Right. It's just a character.
It's
Even
just
though
a
you
character.
do have to go there
You got to go there,
to
but
play
you
that
better
character,
know
but
how to go there
understand that
come
it's just
back.
a character.
and come back.
Come back.
Some-
There are roles that people have done, and that they linger in that role. You know, they're saying the lines weeks after the show has gone down, and still in character. Right, in character.
And it's sad because you look at them and it's got to be exhausting, you know, because when they stay there, it means that they really went there.
Mm-hmm.
They really went there. Now, how do you come down? As Uda said to me, you will learn.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I said, I can't control it.
Mm-hmm.
She said, you will learn.
Mm-hmm.
So I have taken that same training in when I sing a song, because I won't sing a song if it's not connected to me at all. I never did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, coming out of the gospel church, you know, you got to
Mhm.
sing songs that move you.
Right.
You know. So I had my family sing "Amazing Grace" at the family reunion for my sister. You know, and I thought the line is "Saves a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found.
Mm-hmm.
I was blind, but now I see." And I said, "Keep seeing, keep seeing." You know,
Mm-hmm.
but she's gonna outlive me. No, go ahead.
Right. You're watching Curtain Call on Wjzz Cool TV, the coolest TV station in the world, coming to you live, streaming on YouTube, all across the country and around the world. So, please give us a thumbs up. Comment. Send in your comments. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. If you've got family or friends who are doing theater, tell them about us and tell us about them so that we can get them on and get them the kind of exposure that will help them in their career doing theater. So again, you're watching Curtain Call on Wjzz Cool TV, the coolest TV station in the world. Now, back to you and your theater and your acting. Okay, so you've gotten much more involved in telling me about theater than I imagined.
Really?
Yeah. I'm sitting here. I'm taking notes mentally.
Me too.
Taking notes mentally and looking forward to reading about Uda. You've been doing. You became a playwright. Tell us about that experience.
Okay, the play is called One Raylette's Journey.
One Raylette's Journey.
Because I could only tell my story.
Right.
Because there were many, many Raylettes.
Right.
But this was my journey.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't just start with Ray. It starts growing up in the church.
Mm-hmm.
It starts growing up losing my voice. My dad was preaching. He was a bishop in Alabama. And my mother had told me about this piano player. She said, you know, she loved music, and she played a little piano. My daddy played a little piano guitar.
Mm-hmm.
So my aunt played piano for the church. So I've been pianized. I just, you know, I'm gonna. And so my mother was telling me about this piano player because my dad was always trying to get me in church, and I had started to have a little control over him because if he made me mad, I wouldn't sing. Okay. And I wasn't the greatest singer, but he didn't care who sang, you know, but he wanted his children to sing, so he was always pushing me.
Mm-hmm.
So he asked one of the deacons to come over. Would you ask him if she'll go up and sing? And so I wasn't going to go up and sing. But Mom had told me about this piano player. And so when I got there that Sunday, I heard him play, and Daddy called me up to sing. And I went up to sing this piano player, and I didn't know keys at that time. You just, you know, hum a little bit, and they get it right quick.
Mm-hmm.
And honey, we were going to sing, I think it was a song called What Is This? What is this I can feel deep down inside?
Walter Hawkins.
What is this, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It makes me want to run on anyhow.
Mm-hmm. Whatever it is.
Whatever it is, it won't let me hold
Right,
my peace.
right. That's it. Walter
Well, this
Hawkins.
boy started to play this piano, and I went to open my mouth, and no song, no sound would come out. No sound was coming out. And he looked at me and he kept playing, because obviously he knew what was going on, because I sure didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never lost my voice,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't. No sound. No sound. This is in the play. No sound would come out. So I freaked out and I ran out of the church and I ran into the bathroom and I was just looking there. I was in shock. And my mother came in and said, "You all right?" Because she knew. I said, "Yeah." And she left, just walked off. And then the church music, they just going on. And I'm in that bathroom trying to figure out, what the hell? Where's my voice? What happened?
Oh, my goodness.
And I looked there and I thought, I said, God would take your voice if you don't use it. You know, because like I said, I would decide when I'd sing, when I'd tune, if I was mad at my daddy or whatever. So I decided, because Mama had told me about this piano player, I wanted to hear this piano player. And when I heard him, it was just the touch and what he played. It was so spiritual that it just took my voice. And it took my voice. And so my older sister told me years later, she said, "Mama told me something happened to you up on that stage. Mama told me. Because we never discussed it. But I learned then that when you've been given a gift, you don't play around and act like I will, I won't, you got to beg. You know, no. When you've been given a gift,
You gotta use it.
you got to use it. Because it can be taken away. And that was the first time that had ever happened to me. It hasn't happened to me since. But I realized, I said, okay. And I have been, I'm not, like I said, I didn't go towards the gospel. When I got to Dallas, there was, I wanted to, I'd been in a beauty pageant, and I think I mentioned this story on the other dollar. And I was the first black to ever enter this all-white beauty pageant in Alvarado. Like I said, it shook up the town. And I didn't tell my parents because I knew you had to wear a bathing suit, and I knew my mother would probably say no. I think she would have, but I'm not sure now that I've watched her say yes to things that I didn't think she would say to. And I bought a pink bikini, 2-piece, from the dollar store for $1. But I was cute. I had I had the biggest titties up there. Them white girls didn't have no titties. I was up there, and I was just as skinny as I could be, just skinny rail. But I would give anything if somebody had taken a picture of that with me up there. But I did that beauty pageant, and my mother, I didn't tell them. And my mother said, when it showed up in the paper, she looked at me and she said, "You got yourself into this. Now you figure out how you gonna get out of it."
Oh my!
And I had no choice but to go through with it. And I ended up going to a tea party at this rich white folks' house that probably had never had black folks in it for anything but maids. And there I am with the girls, and I was Miss Personality, so they didn't mean nothing to me because, my dad was a bishop and we had been around, but, white folks don't scare me, as a matter of fact, I used to feel sorry for white folks. I thought black people were the blessed people. That's what they taught us in our church.
That's right.
That we were the gifted ones,
That's right.
So I know now that it's the mind. The mind tells you what you are and which you are not. But I did this beauty pageant, and they sabotaged me when it came to the sound because we were singing. And I was in this all-white band, and it was 3 girls. We were like the Sisters of Soul, 3 black girls. Bubba Hospital was the manager. He was really a good man. And the band played for me behind stage. And when everybody done performed, when I got up there, the microphone started cracking and breaking. This one I realized about sabotage. I've had some other sabotage from Milton Berle and a few others. That's another story.
Milton Berle.
Oh my goodness!
She just dropped another name.
I did. That's another story. Which one you want to hear?
Finish, and then we'll go to Milton Berle. Yeah, finish.
Yes.
Which one you want?
Finish what you were telling.
Okay. All right. So Bubba, when he saw that they were destroying my sound, he stopped it. And he walked, and I saw him get down on his knees to these judges, and he told them, like, you know what you're doing, blah, blah, and I'm going to go outside, and I'm going to get a sound, and I'm going to put our sound system up. You're going to let her sing again. And he did, because the band that I played with, the white band, was behind the stage, and we had a good band, right? So he set up the sound system, and they came back and set it up. And I sang again, because when I was up there singing the first, before they set it up, I was starting to cry because I knew that the sound was messing up. and I'm Cancerian, and I was still sensitive with it. And the lady that was helping me dress in the back had put Vaseline all over my teeth. That's to keep you,
Yeah, okay.
you know, so they
Keep
put
that
Vaseline,
smile.
and you can't close it if you wanted to. So I was just, and tears just, you know, rolling down because I didn't know they were sabotaging me. I just thought the sound was messing up. I know now because
That it
I've
was
gone through many sabotages, and I know that they will deliberately do that. A sound man can make or break you, you know,
That's
and
true.
sometimes they
Right.
think they God.
That's
Okay,
true.
so he went and got, and I sang again, and so when it came to the finals, I got second place. But still, that was a black girl in an all-white beauty pageant
Mm-hmm.
in Arkansas. Go back and look and tell me if you see any other black girls in 1969 in any pageant anywhere, you know. And so my mom and dad, you know, the next day I'm on the front of the page, and there I am holding my plaque and my thing, cause I'm on the stage, I'm on the thing,
Mhm.
and this girl won. Well, her daddy was this girl was daddy was the president of the bank.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Vicky.
Of course.
I ain't gonna call her name. And this was Bonnie. And Bonnie and I, even to this day, we kind of still keep in touch a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And she said to me years later, "You know you won." She said they just wouldn't let you have it because you were black.
Exactly.
And she bust out laughing. We were all drunk. We were at a class reunion, and I said, "I know, you know," but I didn't care. I was the fact that I did it.
That's right.
You know,
Mhm.
it
Did
wasn't. I don't even know if it was about the win. I think it was about the doing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just to do it. And I did it, and then I realized people will sabotage you, people will lie on you, and I mean adults. This is not just children play. This is you have to watch. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not a very trusting person. You know, you have to show me who you are, but you don't have to show me but one time.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, because like I said, I got 11 siblings, so I know people. You know, I know people.
Mm-hmm. You dropped a lot of
That
names
is
of those people you know.
incredible.
Right.
Okay, now Milton Berle.
now, yeah.
Oh,
Milton Berle.
okay. I was working at Granny's Dinner Playhouse in Dallas, Texas. Milton Berle was there. I was his opening act. The guy that booked me, I think, name was O.D. O'Donnell. And I get there and we do the first show. We got a big band. Goes fine. We go back the next day. It was a Sunday matinee. When I went up and got to sing, the microphone just started. And it's good, just the same thing, like I said. And I'm just, I kept singing and doing my thing, but the sound was horrible. So by the time I got back to the dressing room, the owner comes up to me. He said, "What's wrong with that sound?" I said, "You asking me?" And so he calls the sound man in, and the sound man in said, "Mr. Burrow came in and set the knobs and told us not to change it."
Whoa.
What?
So they brought him in,
Mm-hmm.
and he acted like it was no big deal.
Even sabotage your show.
Yeah, sabotage my show. But Murr Arnold, who was a guy that I was working with out of Las Vegas, who I became friends with, through a singer named Lavelle Duggins. If you don't know who she was a triple threat.
Mm-hmm.
He told me to read this book that had written about Milton Berle and how he sabotaged a lot of people. He even set up, what was the couple's name, and the wife had an affair, had them come in and catch a picture of her in the bed with another man. In other words, he was all, because back during that time there were laws that if you did anything immoral, they could break your contract.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the book. It's been too long.
Wow.
But it's boy, I'm telling y'all a lot of stuff today.
Really?
But you know what? It's the reality of what you've experienced.
Oh yeah,
It's the
that's why.
reality.
Like I said, I've looked at life from both sides now.
Mm-hmm.
That's why with this business, I still love the music. I'm gonna sing till God takes my voice away.
Amen.
But I will pick and choose where, and I'm not gonna knock on your door and ask you to give me.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Well, I certainly respect that. I respect. I
I'm
know
done.
what you're saying. I know
I'm
what you're
done.
saying.
I'm done.
That's awesome,
Yeah.
man. So, what about your one-woman show? What's the
I'm glad you got back to that.
Entail. What does that entail?
Because it's called One Raylette's Journey, and of course that details my journey with Ray Charles.
Okay.
That's what it was branched on. But But it starts from my childhood. It goes through my high school. It talks about setting up, being one of the first blacks to go to an integrated white school when I was in the 10th grade. And this was just before the law required that we had to all combine. But we were the testers. And honey, I don't know why I went, but my dad wanted me to go. It was almost like he wanted, and he made sure Mom bought me dresses and stuff so that I would look, presentable. And I would go there. I went to that school, the 10th grade, and 10th, 11th, and 12th. It was very trying because the white kids would pass by us and hold their nose, nigga, we heard all of that. And one day, a friend of Carolyn Bailey and I was in the bathroom, and this girl come in and said, "Oh, I smell niggas, honey." And we had a can of deodorant we brought, and honey, we sprayed her up so good. We sprayed that cake. We said, "You smell niggas now," you know.
You actually did that, Cynthia. Oh my God.
Oh yeah. Oh, I stayed in detention hall.
Oh.
I was on detention hall so much, child. I was after school. I was in detention hall all the time. I was a fighter. I had 6 brothers.
Mm-hmm.
You have to.
You had to defend yourself.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah. But that was always in. But I was a national merit finalist, and a sense of principal came and asked me, "Did you know what you was doing, or were you just guessing?" And I looked at him.
Because you was at a white school.
Yeah, but you know what I said? I said a bit of both. Because he was right. I was guessing, and then I was, and then I was looking on some other papers, But it was the fact that he didn't understand how a black girl could come in and do that test and become a national merit. And it was put in the newspaper, so this is all documented, right? And everything can be documented here. And then Pete Sims, who lived down the house, who had the black mortuary, he put it in the bigger newspaper, so I have a copy of it. But it was when it was time for graduation, they announced all of the awards, and they had them on the paper of who won what. I didn't see my name in there for national merit. So just before the ceremony started, I went up to the speaker that day. I said, I was a national merit finalist, and you don't have it in the paper. He said, "Oh." But I tell you what, when he got up there and made his speech, he had me to stand and announce that I had won that national merit. My mom and dad was sitting in that audience, and I felt so proud about that. But they left it out, They didn't have it in the program, and it should have been in the program because I was the first black to do that.
Okay. Okay. Let me just ask you, what's happening now? What's happening in your life now?
Well,
what's
COVID
next?
scared the shit out of me, So right now I'm trying to figure out how to write a book, digital book, because I can't do a book without the music, because that's all a part. So I've got all these wonderful songs. If anybody wants to hear what the songs would have been before COVID, just go to YouTube and put in Cynthia Scott, Where Do We Go From Here? Or hear it for yourself. Either one. I think I got both. And I just gave them little snippets of the songs that I was in the studio recording when COVID hit. But then I realized if I keep doing the same thing that I've been doing, trying to get my music out there, trying to promote, I'm going to keep getting the same results. This stuff is under the bottom. It's, come on, let's talk about it. If you ain't stroking the right people, if you're not giving them fun, whatever. And I always felt like, why do I have to have the talent and pay you for my talent? You should be paying me for my talent if I have it and if you're using it. But radio stations didn't want to play Dream for One by World, and their comment was because I didn't have a standard on it. It was all original. It was all original. But it's about, I wrote the first song, Dream for One by World, about when Obama was running for president. Because I'd never seen a black man run for president. Even though my mother told me, if your daddy wasn't a black man, he could have been president. But my dad was smart. He wasn't educated, but he was smart. He was very, very smart, My brother